I'm just suggesting a few other things while I'm in a party. Hopefully we'll get to go to, that is pronounced circus. I'm still streaming, you can talk if you want to. I'm also in voice chat with one person, but they're kind of shy.
By the way, you're speaking to the newest millionaire in this game.
Well done. You're a very special snowflake.
You.
So from the looks of it, going to be running Circus Tower. Circus Tower is a fantastic dungeon to run. It's 24 person, so it's just full of silly shenanigans. And it really nearly said shilly shenanigans, which isn't even a word. Although we've lost one person, and they were the tank, so I don't know if that'll make it harder or easier to queue, because with 24 people content. Yeah. One of the problems of this game is queue time for damage classes or DPS, because there's so many of them and comparatively so few tanks and healers that it sort of builds up where there's a lack of tanks and healers when there's so many DPS. Rarely, but occasionally, it does also happen the other way around. There just happens to be a lack of DPS on at the time because everyone is playing tank or healer class, which has sometimes happened to me, and it is very confusing when it happens because you're like, how is there a lack of DPS? There's millions of them. You can like never get rid of them. There's so damn many of them. Yeah. And while I'm here, I'll give a quick description of what's in the area, because why not? This giant cool floaty crystal thing's called an aetherite, and it's really pretty. And you use this to teleport to the main cities and all the other places. Go to a teleport menu to teleport. I forgot that. I'll show you teleport in a second. But on the note of prettiness, one of the great things about this game is it's actually really... the art's really nice. Or the graphical style. I mean, comparing it to, like, RuneScape, the art design of RuneScape is very minimalistic, to be polite. And when there's giant floaty crystals like that are just full of pretty. And the sort of like... this is like a sort of semi-arid desert location. I mean, there is still plant life, which is quite nice, but it's not full desert. There's cacti and giant ants, as you find in every desert ever. I don't know if you've ever been to a desert, but you will find many giant ants. I can tell you. You can go there and check it. I know you will. If you want to see a, like, deserty desert, I shall show you Southern Thanalon at Forgotten Springs, because I know how much you'll want to see the desert now that I've taunted you with the promise of a desert. And they don't know the mechanics of this dungeon, so I'm going to quickly tell them, if I can remember how to spell purple. Excuse me. Oops. My chocobo is currently stabled. Chocobos being the primary method of transport in here. It's like when you get to level 20, the max level being 50, max item level being 110, not including weapons. At 115. When you get to 20, there's a side quest to unlock a chocobo, and then you can ride a chocobo around. The thing I'm riding right now is actually some kind of giant lizard thing, which, random cool thing. It has fiery breath, which is, it can do fire breath, which is totally aesthetic and has no use other than that, but it looks cool. But yeah, this is a really arid desert. That's a mine. That's a giant sandworm. Fire elementals, just like in real life. I mean, again, go to a desert, you'll find fire sprites there, and giant sandworms. And potentially big drills for mining purposes. See? Giant drill. Just constantly rotating and spinning for the purpose of drills. Anyway, one other thing you may notice, in my character's hair, it's actually green, just like in real life, because that's how... Oh, cool, we've queued for it, nice. Because that's how accurate to detail I am. I have the same colour hair in real life. I also have red pants, although... I think I've got some in real life. I never wear hats in real life though, but that actually kind of looks cool with the whole thing I'm going for. I may show you more of the world after to describe its prettiness, but...
Hey, Arya.
Hey, what's up?
Did I ever tell you about taking your soul stone out in the Psychers?
Oh god, yeah.
Oh, okay. I have to ask you because I don't always remember.
I can't do that at the moment. I've got to keep this weapon equipped to charge it with light particles, so that I can unlock cool things.
Yeah.
If I take my other weapon, I could do that, but also I don't have my awesome bard powers then. If I'd just stay as an archer class.
Do you have an awesome bard power?
Yeah, I've got the most awesome bard powers. I can play music and... No, if you're an archer, you can't use the bard abilities because of how the job system works. You've got to have your... he's... Wait, who's the bard? You mean when gold is barding?
Yeah,
Right, he's asking if he should play songs in, for example, if you're low on mana. But because you play Scholar, it's pretty rare you would run out of mana because Scholars have much better mana regeneration than White Mages do. Those being the two healer classes. Yeah. If you're playing with really, really good people, you almost never need to play bard songs, and you can just focus completely on damage, and that way you don't get the debuff from playing music. Because when you're a bard and you regenerate mana or TP for the rest of the team, you can deal less damage because there's a 20% debuff on it. I'm assuming you knew that, but just in case you didn't. Well, now you do. The only song that it doesn't do that with is for Requiem, which is the one that boosts magic damage, which actually helps you as a healer as well if you were to do some magic damage. Say if the other healer's competent and you could say switch to cleric stance and focus on attacking for a bit, whilst say for example the other white mage can keep the heals up for the rest of the team. I off-class as Scholar, and sometimes do that. Go ahead.
Is the only thing that Cleric's going to do for me buff on ruin?
No, it should buff all your offensive magic.
Really?
Should do. Well, that's what I do as Scholar.
I feel like it doesn't just buff the ruin, and that is not worth it for me.
If you're doing it more than once a week to try and get the loot, which is why I just took the oil instead of holding out for like the bard coat, for example, because I really don't need it, but the coats could be cool if it does turn up eventually. Yeah. Whereas I can use the oil to upgrade soldiery accessories when I get some. Currently, I only have 208 soldiery. I need at least, how much was it? 375 soldiery to get an accessory, I think. Yeah, the healer in my party got this sands, so they were quite lucky. While I'm still streaming, I will show a bit more of the beauty that is this world. this world being... It's actually called Eorzea, which is a cool name. This is Corthius, coming here because it is... When it loads, I will say the next part of this. There we go. It's beautiful and snowy. I keep forgetting about my chocobo. So I will summon my cavalry drake, which is a nice lizard thing. And you can just see all this pretty snow land and stuff. And ice sprites. If you've ever been on mountain, there are ice sprites. And gobus, that is called, which is quite a big thing. Yeah. And basically, it's all just pretty. And there's castles and snow. And look at the snow particles. And they almost look like snow might in real life if you squint, kind of. And there's a flag. Trying to think if there's anything else specific around this area. This is quite a pretty castle. Off the top of my head, there's nothing else around this region specifically, so I will go to Costa because that is a nice place as well to show off how this world looks. And I've lost someone in my party. They're the person that disconnected earlier, so they might have the same problem now. I know, who doesn't love flags? Hello. I've just gone to Costa because it is a beautiful, nice and beachy place. And that is a quest. That is what a quest looks like. And I'm not going to continue that at the moment because I'm going to save it for later pretty much. That's a part of the Hildebrand quest, which are quite hilarious, which I've not got around to doing that yet. But this is a beautiful beach, and the lens flare, which you can, again, you always see that in real life. I don't know why they had that effect in when it's not like a real life thing. I mean, it does kind of look cool, but still, you never get that in real life. And I've never noticed this before. What is this? Oh, that's a coconut, but like a quite detailed coconut, like one that's sprouting. And that is an orange thing that maybe it's another coconut, I don't know. That's a plant tree thing. But yeah, these are quite pretty coastlines, and there's a lighthouse over there. And some sort of pier architecture. And while I'm just showing off the geography, I'm gonna go to one of the, I guess, 3 major cities. This one's one of the prettier ones, I guess. Oh, they're all fairly pretty, but the desert one isn't that interesting. It's mostly market-based. And just buildings, pretty much. Whereas this one is pirate-themed, essentially. What up?
My friend Joyce she's gonna come over, so I'm gonna get off now.
Okie dokie. Thanks for partaking in the dungeons for me to stream, I guess.
Well, thank you for doing it, so I'm gonna say
You sand thief, you. Yeah, I pretty much just took an oil just so that I didn't have to run Circus Tower repeatedly this week.
Do you have all your oils in it? You do.
Oh yeah, I'm 110, but I'm stocking up because soon soldiery's gonna be much more easy to obtain. So.
True. Very true. Did you watch the preview for the next patch?
You mean the 2.4 trailer? I have, and damn, I am excited for that. That looks so awesome. Like Shiva, the Ice Primal. That is. I'm so glad they're adding her in because she's been like a cool character in previous Final Fantasies, and that's gonna have some interesting mechanics. Probably a lot of it's going to be like, oh god damn it, I'm frozen again. But still, I wonder how much. Oh yeah, she's really cool. Pun not actually intended that time. But I'm wondering like how much harder it's gonna be than Ramu Extreme, for example, because that's pretty hard, and not a lot of people. Yeah, Titan is arguably as hard as Ramu, I mean, the mechanics of that are just so damn hard. Do you want to run through Titan now quickly, just for lols?
I can't. She just got here. Literally, I heard her coming up.
Well, I guess you've got to go then. And I'm now party leader, and Goal's offline, so I'm probably going to have to kick them, because they're not even here.
Oh. But next time, definitely Titan.
Maybe.
Well.
Yeah. Oh, are you excited for the ninja class, also known as Naruto, the class?
I am, but I feel like so many people are going to do it that I'll wait.
Oh yeah, it's going to be great. There are going to be, like, so many terrible people at that class, because from what they've described of it, it's going to actually be difficult to play. So there's going to be a lot of people that are just really bad at it. I might level it as well and try and be actually competent at doing it. Oh yeah, have you noticed all the pumpkins around, like Limsa and Gridania and Uldar? It's
Halloween.
Yeah. This is Halloween, this is Halloween, da 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 da.
I really did like the black mage's coat or whatever, but I don't like the cheesy ass pumpkin bats on it. I'm like, no.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Did you see my gold room?
No, but I'm going to say yes to make you feel better.
Oh, fuck you. It's so cool. Next time you come on, check out it.
Okay, remind me, and I will. Have you got the chocobo barding for Halloween yet? Because that looks pretty funny.
No. I didn't know there was chocobo barding.
It is. It's quite funny. It's. I'm not sure how to describe it. It's like it's wearing a black cloak and it's also holding out a pumpkin lantern. It's so spooky.
I want that.
I know you do. To get that, in the next couple of weeks, you've got to repeatedly spam the same fate until you get enough cookies to trade it in.
Oh, I'm gonna do that. I got the weekend off, so I'm just gonna do that.
I bet you are.
Shut up. And probably talk to you as...
Yep, you do tend to do that quite often.
Yeah.
I'd recommend it. It's a good hobby to have, talking to me. I'm very talkative occasionally.
You're old, father. What do you mean?
Well, I don't always get the option to talk. Thus, I'm only talkative when I have said option to. Thus, occasionally. Because logic. I know, it has been your downfall for so long now. Okay. I know you do. Bye, have fun with that girl's name I've forgotten. Bye. And that was the healer from my group, who I had on voice chat as well. And I've just been running in circles while I was saying bye to her. So sorry if anyone's dizzy now, because I get dizzy crazy easily. Yeah, the great thing about the three main cities right now... oh, that was actually a girl, if no one could tell. They were pretty quiet, though, because I've turned them down so much, because they were crazy loud earlier. Yeah, the great thing about the three major cities right now is there's pumpkins everywhere. It's Halloween. There's Halloween events. I'd show you them, but I've already done them, so I can't replay it. But it's really fun. So if you're going to pick up this game at any point, do it like in the next couple of weeks. And also ask me to refer you, because then you can get help leveling because of items. And that... They've got the same coat as me, damn them. Although their hair's pretty cool. And they're a warrior. Yeah, quick run through of classes, because why not? Gladiator, they get sword and shield. Upgrades to paladin. Pugilist, hand to hands. They get like these sort of, I suppose, knuckle dusters, but they're like oversized and they look pretty cool. That actually, the job class of that is actually monk, which I'm really not sure how monks work in other games. But I thought they were more like Healy, essentially. Or prayer, or like use prayer to prayer. Praying. Let's say praying instead, that sounds more natural. They use the ability of praying to boost the rest of the group. Marauder is the other tank class other than Gladiator, and goes into warrior job. Basically has an axe. Lancer evolves into Dragoon, and has a lance. Archer, my class, goes into Bard. Then there's the magic ones. Conjurer is a white mage. Thaumaturgy is black mage. And Arcanist is that special one I mentioned earlier that can either be a Scholar, which is a healer, or a Summoner, which is damage, both of which get cool pets. I've actually leveled up my Arcanist to 50, as you can tell. And I off-class as Scholar so that I'd get the chance to heal occasionally. I've sort of glamoured mine to sort of look like as close as I could to Link from Legend of Zelda, because... Hang on, I'll just swift cast this so it's quicker. No, I won't. Why won't you swift cast? There we go. Because the time it took me to do that. Because now I've got a fairy following me. And I think you can see where I'm going with that. I mean, there's a fairy following me, and I look like Link. Hey, listen! Essentially. If I can find it in my inventory. I actually am upgrading my boots so they look kind of different. Yeah, that was how they should look. I've not got round to changing my fancy new shoes to look the right way, but that kind of works. Link's got armoured legs for now. Yeah. And Scholars are pretty cool because white mages are like purely about healing, whereas Scholars, well, not just purely about healing, but they're focused more to heal. Scholars have a bit of like shielding, for example, Sacred Soil reducing damage a bit, and there's a bit of offensive power because they have the same base moveset as the Summoner, which are mostly dot based, damage over time. So when they're in combat, they will put up some dots like Miasma, Bio 2, Bio, and Air is actually stolen from White Mage, but so that's like the cool thing about Scholars essentially. Swiftcast is cross-class skill from Black Mage, which is just useful information if you ever do get around to playing this game and playing any kind of magic class, because Swiftcast is so essential, specifically with raising, because if you normally cast Raise, it takes about 8 seconds. 8 seconds in combat is a damn long time. So Swiftcast that, instant raises. It's what the good healers do essentially. I used it earlier to summon quickly because otherwise summoning takes a while. There's two fairies, as I sort of mentioned earlier. Eos is mainly for healing. Selene is for it also does heal, but whenever it it's already out. Couldn't see it. And Eos is pretty green. Selene looks like that, purple and yellow themed. So Selene will also buff the damage of the rest of the group with Selene's abilities. Can't remember exactly how because I rarely use Selene, to be honest. I should use it more, but I don't heal as often as I play Bard, obviously, and I only use Selene when I'm in a group that I know isn't going to die every time they get hit, practically. So most of the time I keep Eos out to make it easier to heal, because I know how much people die, pretty much. So yeah, the abilities of Selene, Feylight, for example, increases skill speed of everyone around me, which means they can attack more and do more damage. So like, Selene's sort of a support fairy, you could say. Yeah, Feyglow is spell speed and Feylight is skill speed. Let's see, Embrace is healing, and that uses silence. There's a few classes that can do silence, and Selene is one of the ways it can happen. I think there's more abilities that I can't actually get into. Oh no, that's all of them. They are Eos abilities, I think. Yeah, so Selene can basically raise spell speed and skill speed, whereas Eos can raise health restoration and magic defense. So yeah, Eos is for healing and defense, Selene's more for offense. which is why most of the time I stick with Eos. Summoner is the other route of Arcanist. I rarely play Summoner. I'm not fantastic as a Summoner, to be honest. But Summoners are still a damn cool class. And that's a mini Garuda. You'll see most Summoners using Garuda because Garuda increases the abilities of the dots, for example. So with Garuda out, your dots will do more damage. Is the short story. There's more to it, but I won't go into too much detail in this example for a change. Garuda, in the story, Garuda's the third of the primals you actually fight, which isn't a massive spoiler, but is a tiny bit of one. The second one is Titan, and Titan is a, I suppose as far as pets go, it's a tank class pet. You summon this and it will tank for you, so that it takes the aggro off you and you're not getting hit. For like in the wilderness when you're attacking, I suppose wilderness trash, whatever you'd want to call it. The giant ants from earlier, for example, they're only level 5, which so is like if I hit them they'll die, or if I poke them in the face they'll fall over. But if I go to a level 50 area and have Titan out, it will pick up the aggro off all the ads. The Garuda's a caster / range type DPS, and the first primal you fight, and potentially most recognisable from the Final Fantasy series, is Ifrit. That's like a mini version of it, and that's like sort of straight melee DPS. Take this into combat with you and it will go up and use its claws to scratch things, essentially. And while you are, in theory from a distance, putting dots up like Miasma and Bio 2, and using Ruin and Virus and Shadow Flare, which is sort of similar to Sacred Soil, or actually more accurately Ring of Fire from a Bard. It's a circle that does damage when things stand in it. That's pretty much everything. All the main stuff about Summoner. There's a lot of other abilities that I'm not going into because, well, for one thing, I'm not a fantastic summoner, and the other reason is I don't want to, and there's not really that much time. But the other cool thing about, I suppose, Arcanist is use Aether Flow and you get up to 3 stacks of that, and then you can use special abilities. As a Scholar, they're sort of focused on healing and defense. Like Scholar special ability, Sacred Soil, that takes a stack of Aether Flow. Another ability was called Lustrate. That I think it heals a quarter of any target's health. Well, friendly target. So Lustrate is like the main healing ability of Scholars because it's so good. And like if the tank is next to dead, you can spam Lustrate and heal them up pretty quick. It's the best feature of Scholar practically. The way that Summoner uses it though, when they've got the dots up, like Miasma Bio 1 and 2, they use something called Fester, which it deals extra damage for each of the dot on it essentially, and it can only be used though when you've activated Aether Flow. The other ability that can be used is called Bane. Scholars can actually Bane as well, if I remember. Yeah, they can. And what it does is it spreads the dots from one target onto 2 other targets as well. So you've put Miasma Bio 1 and 2 on one thing, Bane that over to the other 2, and it's pretty good. Scholars can also do that, but Scholars are mostly focused on healing. And the last thing is Energy Drain, which absorbs 50% of the damage as it heals a Scholar and also absorbs MP, which is one of the reasons that Aether Flow also restores 20% of your MP or mana points, which is one of the reasons that Scholars as healers, they run out of mana a lot less than white mages do. Like if you're in big parties fighting really hard things. I noticed that, like main class being a bard, so because I can mana song, like I've like as well as doing damage, I've got to keep track of the of the healer's mana. Like, if there's a white mage that's low on mana, then he can't heal the party, so I can mana song to get their mana back up, basically. It's rare that a scholar will have that problem because they have the mana restoration. Pretty sure white mages do to a degree, but just not as good, essentially. Yeah. Wasn't exactly planning to go into that much detail about that, but I did. They're the classes I can play effectively. I've leveled up other stuff mostly to 30 now. So I can play a bit of the other classes, but I'm not very good at them. I'm not very good at Summoner, but it's fairly high leveled in terms of item level. The place I've gone to now is Free Company House, which is like a guild house. I happen to be in a really good free company, thus the house is pretty huge. Like, most people's are quite tiny. If I can... Like, that one over there is a free company house. Pretty small compared to this big, giant house thing. The other cool thing is chocobos outside. This one's actually my chocobo. And... let's look at mine. Mine's actually dyed purple at the moment. I'm trying to dye it black, but the way dyeing it works, you've got to feed it food and kind of do it in steps. And it can also have cool barding. The one I've got equipped at the moment is White Mage, because I just unlocked that. To do that, you've got to train it to rank 10. Training a chocobo is really hard. Well, not really hard, it's just really grindy. You've got to take it to combat a lot, or feed it a lot of experience enhancing drugs. Now, there's food that gives experience. Like, what you do is you can do it up to once an hour under the train option there, and then you've got to give it as the basic one's called Cracker Root, and like, in theory, you give it as a reward for good behaviour. So you train it, it gets experience, and it gets the carrot as a reward. Because mine's rank 10, 10 is the highest without extra levelling. I can't take it out at the moment, which I'd love to show you more, but I'm currently in the process of dyeing it, so I need to leave it in the stable so that it can grow feathers, essentially. Yeah, if you get it to 10, you get either healing, DPS, or tank barding. I train mine in healing so that I can primarily do damage. Basically why I leveled it as a healer. And thus unlocked White Mage barding. I've got some other cool barding, but I can't actually show at the moment. Some of the higher level primals, like Ramu and Leviathan, have cool barding. And the other one I like is from Fate called Odin. Fates are fun. They're like random events that pop up on the map. If I get around to it, I might show a random fate. But they're like mini events that are... There's always one happening somewhere, pretty much. Or usually at least 3 open on a map at any given time. Or between 3 and 9. I think 9's the most you can possibly have. Odin is a very rare one though, and it takes like hundreds and hundreds of people to actually kill because he is really, really overpowered. And I suppose technically it's the most content you can or the most people fighting one thing you can have is during Fates. So they spawn that just in the open world, and then everyone on the same server. Word spreads fairly fast usually that Odin has spawned, and then everyone who can will then like run and try and kill it. At the moment, I've got all the things that can potentially drop from Odin though, so I probably wouldn't go to it in that scenario. But it's a fun fight. It's really hard as well. Like, if you don't have hundreds of people, you've just got no chance of killing it in time before there's like an enrage timer, I suppose it would be called. If you don't kill him quick enough, he will just lightning everyone to death. Yes, that was Chocobos. And this is a cool pond that the Free Company has. And I'm going to sit in it because... Oh! I didn't know you could sit on that. I just learnt something new. So yeah, you can sit on this log thing in this pond and contemplate life. That's my face in the game. Look at it, it's a face. Yeah, you can also use the striking dummy to practice your rotation and attacks. And if you own a house or are high enough in the free company, you can plant stuff. And in the gardens, gardening is a pretty profitable thing because you need a house to have a garden, so not many people have that. And this garden's pretty empty now. Normally there's a lot more in it, so I might talk to the free company leader about what's in the garden because it's really not being used. I'm just going to show you inside this house because why the hell not? Yeah, these are, I suppose, NPC characters. The thing about my gear is, after using it, its condition is a bit lower. Like, hovering my bow, and the condition's down to 55%. That's down to 55. Everything's at roughly 55% condition, because I've been fighting with it a lot. So I've got to get it mended, pay some money, which is like hardly any money compared to all the money I have. So I've played this for a while, I've gathered finance, I suppose. Cool thing about my free company house is I need to be a cooking craft class. I wonder if I can quickly equip that or not. Where is it even? Where's culinarian? There it is. There we go. Now I can cook things, and using like a stove increases the ability to cook. They normally cost a lot of money, but our free company is pretty cool and has existed a while. Thus, cooking is easy. Then I can craft all these things using my cooking abilities, like lavender oil and chicken and mushrooms and all the other food. And that's basically how crafting works in practically every game ever, probably. Another cool crafting class is leatherworking. Using this table to boost its ability. And then you can use your leatherworking ability to make like belts and that's a pugless weapon, and pants and armor for other classes. And as a bard, you primarily as you're leveling, you get most of your armor's made out of leather stuff. Highest body is actually Weaver. Yeah, the gloves are leather worker. That's Weaver. Pants are leather working. Yeah, another useful crafting class is obviously Weaver for me, because that would, if I can be bothered to level it up, then I can weave my own gear, or at least repair my own gear. And then the other main one is Goldsmith, because they make all the jewellery. So they're like three of the useful classes. If you're a tank, then you use a lot of armouring. So you'd want to be, what are they called? Blacksmith and Armourer. I can't remember which one does which, to be honest. And which of these helps which. They're two, like, there's a lot that each can craft, so they sort of split into two. And I can't remember why, but there was a decent reason. Yeah, one can use that to upgrade, and one can use that one. And I can't remember what the hell oh, that's for carpentry. Carpenter is mainly maker of bows, so I should really level that, but where's my carpenting? Where the hell is it? Oh, level 1. Yeah, I've not all. I should really get round to it, maybe. That's a sort of brief explanation of the crafting classes. Very brief, as I'm terrible at crafting. Oh, alchemy's a thing as well. I'll show the big alchemy thing. Alchemists make potions, and also books for scholars and summoners, and probably other stuff as well, I forget. That is an alchemy thing. Furnace. Wasn't sure what that even was. And that's basically going through carpenter. Weapons, armor, jewellery, armor, potions and weapons. Food in this game busts you slightly. For example, the only food I really ever use is omelettes, because it's the best for my class, and there's very few there's very few amount of content that because I'm so well geared that I need food to like be able to pass it. Like, the only dungeon at the moment is the hardest one, turn 9, and I need food for that just to get the accuracy cap, because the accuracy is abnormally high for that at one specific point. I've got to have as much accuracy as a tank would have, and without going into too much detail. So basically, I need food for that, pretty much. If you're lower level as well, on some of the highest content, then food is really necessary as well, just so that you're pushing out enough damage in the time that it takes to kill the bosses. The last few classes that you can do are Disciples of Land, which is Mining, Botanist and Fisher. Miner mines ores. Ores that are useful for things such as these crystals. You need these crystals for all the other crafting classes, so Miner's pretty damn useful, to be honest. I've gathered a lot from doing crafting quests, and the Fire and Ice sprites, for example, they will drop shards and crystals. I'm pretty sure you need to mine to cluster. I think I bought the few clusters I do have, probably. But yeah, mine is dead useful for that, essentially. Botanist, I've not actually even unlocked that yet. That is the only thing I've not unlocked in this game, I think. And just not got round to it. But they can cut down trees and plants for culinary and alchemy, I'm guessing. And Weaver, I think? Definitely Carpenter. But yeah, they're pretty useful. And Fisher is fish for cooking, essentially. But then it gets into more detail because you can desynthesize the fish, turn them into other crafting gear, like bones and glue, and all other kinds of classes can sort of use them. I've not really got into fishing, but I know this stuff can happen. Also just running around the Free Company house to kind of show this is a meeting room, sort of, and there's a hot tub in here with a harp in it. Which I don't really know if you can hear that well. I may turn this game up a bit just because harp music. Pretty harp music, essentially. Anyway, going back to what I was describing. So yeah, fishing, like the most obvious use is just you can fish for fishing and then cook them for food, and that's. Yeah, this house is really fancy as well, if you can't tell. So yeah, fish for fishing, cook for food. That's the most simple use of it. But then you can turn the fish into all other things, and there's like whole random events that sort of can be triggered if you fish the right fish. Then you can spawn specific hunting mobs, and hunts can give very valuable things. And I think that's about as much detail as I can go into for the classes. I've sort of gone over I've mentioned the currency before. Philosophy doesn't really exist in the game anymore, but it's listed there because it did once. And mythology is currently the lowest level of tombstone you can get. The tombstones are used for like high level gear. Myth tombs get for like item level 90 stuff, which you can equip as soon as you're level 50. So if it specifically for training secondary classes, as soon as you've hit 50, you can upgrade straight to myth gear. Doing that though, you miss out the experiences like of between item levels 50 and 90 though. So if people are doing the first run through, I would always recommend to not go straight to 90, because you'll end up being terrible at playing the class, because you sort of really learn it between those levels. Like when I'd hit 50 as Archer, I was really bad. I think I've only just in the last sort of month or so got on my attacks in sort of perfect order, and before that it was close to it, but I was still doing things a bit wrong. But my point being, in the item level section, there's still a lot of learning to happen, because you've only just unlocked all of your abilities at that point. Yeah. Soldiery at the moment is capped, so you can only get 450 at most a week. And in other weeks, I would probably have I'd have already capped at that, because I normally get quite a bit of soldiery from generally what I do. But this week I've been streaming mostly, to be honest, so I've not been doing that as much. Yeah, and hang on, I will teleport to Modana, the place where you can spend all of your myth and soldiery fun. This is all stuff above level 50 as well, so like you don't get myth tomes until you're at least 50. Yeah, that is a gold chocobo armor. That is a pretty hard thing to get. You have to have 500 commendations. You get commendations when people think that you're really good in a dungeon. Like at the end of Circus Tower, I gave one to a summoner, I think. I've only got 274. They're really hard to get as DPS because, like, by default they sort of go to tanks or healers, and even then most people are lazy. Strangely, I've got a lot more as bard than I have as a healer, though. But I'm a fairly good bard, to be honest. And there's a lot of people that I want. Yeah, that's a non-gold version of that. It's called Magitech armor. It's like a mecha chocobo. So yeah, to trade in myth and soldiery, you gotta go to this person. I'll just quickly look at like the myth hats for bard is 495 myth, which myth is damn easy to get now, but it wasn't originally when it came out. And the body is 825. See, and the belt's 375. They're the main sort of numbers. Like boots 495, pants 825, belt and accessories 375, and gloves 495. Accessories can be seen here. They're all the same price. Going back over to here, there's gear, there's a weapon, there's hat, body, hands, belt, legs, pants. Total is a pretty large number, basically. I'm not going to add that up now because I'm too lazy. You can probably do it if you really want to, but I'm not going to make you. And then there's all the accessories. The accessories are obviously quite cheap in comparison, but the thing... Hang on. I just go back into the soldiery menu. I'll go the Disciples of Magic for soldiery. So with the currency, you can only get 450 a week, but as you can see, only accessories are less than that price. So you're gonna need to save it for like more than a week if you want to get the hats or gloves or pants, or well, pants and bodies especially, because they're 825. That's at least 2 weeks worth. That's soldiery gear, for example, and that, I think that was one of the first things I got, because most people go with accessories first because that way you can item level quicker, because you can get them quicker, your item level raises quicker, obviously. But I was weird and thought, I'll go for the expensive things first because then it'll be easy later. And by doing that, I jumped from 106 to 110 really quickly, whereas like 95 to 105 was like one a week at most. So yeah, I'm trying to level up my scholar using soldiery now that I've got my bard fully leveled, so I'm trying to get my scholar. Nearly said summoner. Trying to level up my summoner now with soldiery. So I'm probably going to go for ring next, which is 375. I'm 168. Oh wait, that can't be right. 167. I was one off. 167 more soldiery, and I can get a ring. And because I ran Circus Tower, I've got the oil ready to upgrade that. But yeah, in terms of inventory space, this is like a standard amount of inventory that you get. You get 100 slots like to carry with you at any point. There's also an armory chest though, so like when you get all of the dungeon drops are loot, and stuff that takes up the inventory space, weapons, hats, etc, etc, etc. The only problem I have with this is you can equip 2 rings at once, so you get you arguably end up collecting more rings, but there's the same amount of ring storage space as there are for everything else. It's really annoying. And when you're trying to keep your inventory to like just the highest level stuff, just gonna sort this. I should not have that ring still. That should be on my retainer. I'll show you retainers in a second. Yeah, these are all 110 rings. I've been collecting rings as much as I can because because there's 2 rings and they're like, for a bard anyway, the rings were the hardest thing to get, so getting rings for the other classes is like sort of helping. Yeah, I was going about inventory space. There's 100 slots. Because of not having enough space in my armory chest, I've got some equipment here. That's 30 slots of my inventory's equipment. I kind of hoard equipment because it either looks pretty, or I'm leveling lower classes, or I just don't have armory space and can't bother throwing it away or selling it. Or I can't sell it. This is a retainer, and retainers are essentially extra inventory. I have given mine hilarious names like Fluffy McKitty and Lady Kitty Paws. The reason being because the races, one of which is called Mikote, and the cat girls essentially. Because this is a Japanese game. And you've got to have cat girls. I'm actually playing as an elf race that's called Elizon, if anyone was wondering that. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I am actually incredibly tall compared to everyone else. I am 2 meters tall. That is a cat girl, and she is practically midget to me. That's a human girl, and again, there's like half a meter between us at least. But look at how tiny this cat girl is. Look at her, kitty. And here we go. The best race of all is just Lalafell, because they're just knee-high to me. They're so small. I just want to pet them all. I don't even know that person. I've just gone up to them and pet them. And they're called Mr. Wiggles. Spelt very stupidly, but still, that is what they're called. But yeah, that's why Lalafells are hilarious and also the best race. Other than Elizon, because I'm an Elizon. So yeah, going back to retainers, both of mine are cats because hilarious names. And they are extra item storage. You can carry 100 items on you. Each retainer can have up to 175 items. So, as you can probably tell, I've stuffed this one full of gear that I kind of don't want to sell, or is, useful eventually. Or, I don't know, I just couldn't be bothered sorting it out properly. I would say it's mostly the last, but it's actually not. A lot of the items are useful. They can also run out... Ooh, metallic gold, sweet. That's apparently really rare. I have no use for it, but still, it's a rare thing. You can also send them out on adventures themselves. I've actually leveled this retainer up to level 50, which takes a while, but... where you level them up is assigning ventures, like an adventure, but without the ad. And the best way to do that is to send them on field exploration, because that gives the most experience over time. That's already level 50 though, so I'm going to do quick exploration, because it only takes an hour and it can lead to interesting gear being found. For example, the metallic gold paint was pretty rare. Not something I need specifically, but still it's a rare thing, so that's cool, I guess. The other interesting thing is you can only level your retainers as high as each individual class is leveled that you have leveled. So that's the level 50 archer, because I've leveled my archer to 50. My other retainer, once I get round to it, that is my phone telling me things have happened online. My other retainer is an Arcanist, because that's the other thing I've got at 50. But I got my Arcanist to 50 after my Archer, and I kind of didn't bother training this retainer as much. So they're at 27. Because I've been really slowly sort of training them. They'll eventually get to 50, and then I can send them on quick quests as well. To get them to go on adventures, though, you've got to have these items that are called adventures. You can get them a number of ways, but they can run out if you don't have enough. I've got 86 because I've been spamming hunts, and I have nothing else to spend hunting currency on. Hunting currency is allied seals. Allied seals you get for hunts. And you can use them on shiny things. used to be that you would use them on sands and oils, but now Circus Tower has sort of an excess amount of sand and oil that you kind of don't need to spam it as much. So now, instead of spending on that, you can just spend it on benches pretty much. I have nothing else to spend it on personally. But for my archer, this badass coat that I'm wearing, that originally cost 1,000 allied seals, which I'd say at the time they were harder to get, but I suppose they're as hard to get now. But at the time they had a better use than, because now you don't need sand and oil as much because of Circus Tower being too easy. They used to not drop. There used to be 1 oil drops from Circus Tower, and that was it. Now there's 2 oil and 2 sand drops. It's like, it's just too easy. Which is why in one of my retainer, I think I've already got 3 ores stacked up. It would be... oh yeah, I was going to show the random stuff I've collected with this retainer. This is pretty much all crafting gear. Like, raw food ingredients, pretty much all over there. Bones and horns, and there would be skin here as well, but I've got them for leatherworking, obviously, and other various crafting things. Right, oh, I do have sand of time here, and I'm going to add this oil, and I've got 4 oil, so if I get all of the soldiery gear for my scholar, for example, then I can instantly upgrade 4 of that. And I've got 1 sand for when I eventually get around to getting more soldiery gear for that. I just realised I've gone over the armour, and also, if you're wondering, that's what a quest complete thing looks like. I don't need to collect that now though, but now I've told you, I might as well. It's a farmable quest that you can do over and over again, and in doing so, you get an item that is a mysterious map. Mysterious maps are fun because you can use them to